Hello everybody, and welcome back to mbav-tober, where I attempt to make a video for every week of the month of October, where I review, I analyze every character in the main core 5 of My Babysitter's a Vampire. Welcome to the Erica video! I got my lamp to work finally. I've been able to have cool colors this whole time. We are going to tackle the topic of what I guess I'm deeming Gothic femininity. Certain terms like female Gothic main characters, Gothic female characters, Gothic femininity, these are all terms that have been, tossed around in a lot of literary spaces, and is something that I want to try and define and sort of apply to Erica to somewhat explain her behavior, because I'm not here to defend it, I want to say that right away, but it's really well known that, she behaves badly, okay? She's a famous bad behavior within the series, whereas a lot of the other characters are on a little bit more of good boy mode. She just kind of does whatever she wants, and you know what? Good for her. This is not going to be a I support women's rights and women's wrongs video, necessarily, okay? I just want to unpack her behavior and kind of explain why it's happening, not condone it in any way. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. It's still raining, by the way, so if you hear little rain pitter-patters, not much I can do about it. Maybe it'll be nice and calming. It's not as bad as last year, when it was raining and I was recording my bad videos. I had a full-on, thunder sound effect happen. I swear, that was just, a huge coincidence. Where I attempt to make a video a week about My Babysitter's a Vampire. Is Erica a victim of circumstance, or is she somebody who has chosen to behave the way she does as a way of rejecting society who did not accept her in the first place? These are all questions we're going to try and answer today. Hey y'all, yeah, the video was bad. It didn't record it. It wasn't recording. So I just have the audio of that first clip. So I put some Erica footage over. Hope that's okay. I don't want to refilm it though. So we're just gonna move forward, okay? It's really hard. It's really hard to get a video out a week, is all I'm trying to say. So let's start with where Erica starts as a character, because she's one of the characters that has the biggest transformation throughout the series. Sarah has already started out as a fledgling and struggling with her vampirism, and Rory we see transform, but as I explained in my previous video, go check out my Rory video, he already lives an authentic existence and is existentially sound, so Erica is the one we really see transform and evolve as a character. So Erica goes from being a reserved, kind of nerdy, insecure person into someone who is overly confident and a bit aggressive. I think it's safe to say that a lot of the personality that we see throughout the series after she's become a full vampire is still what was inside of her when she was still a human. It was just insecurity and uncomfortableness that was not letting that come out. You can tell that she's really insecure, specifically when it comes to talking with Sarah. You can see that it's kind of a sore spot for her that Sarah has a popular boyfriend and that she's spending more time with than her. As we all know, as the audience, Sarah's spending more time with her boyfriend because she has to go to vampire cult ritual church. And is basically being forced away from Erica, being separated from her human life, which she does not want to do in the first place. But you can see that Erica is really insecure at this fact that she's not cool enough for Sarah now that Sarah's had this transformation. We always like to talk about that maybe Sarah wore glasses before she got turned, because we never see what Sarah looked like before she got turned into a fledgling. So we would assume that Sarah was a little bit more nerdy looking, and now that she has dated Jesse and has had a glow up, if that's the framework that we're seeing it through Erica's eyes, you can see why she would be a little bit insecure about it. And turning into a vampire for her is her reclaiming her own narrative and evolving into the best version of herself. I mean, she's obsessed with dusk, and it could be safe to say that she sees vampirism as an escapist sort of fantasy for her, right? I think that was the big appeal for Twilight for a lot of people. A lot of people's insecurities kind of get fixed or cured, one could even say, with the idea of vampirism. I'm getting a Discord notification. That was me, I promise, guys. I'm sorry. And this ties into what I've been describing as the feminine Gothic or the Gothic feminine. I'm going to be using both terms interchangeably. They mean the same thing, because this is a similar transformation that a lot of feminine characters in Gothic novels specifically go through. And specifically, I want to talk just a little bit about the feminine grotesque, because we don't get too much of that in mbav, because it is a kid's show at the end of the day. Theology of the female Gothic grotesque. I'm not going to quote anything in specific from this chapter, just because it talks a lot about other works and texts. I'm not going to quote anything in specific from this chapter, just because it talks a lot about other works and texts interweaved with, like, the discussion. So I feel like bringing up random characters' names and random plot scenarios when trying to talk about Erica is a bit distracting. But in general, it describes feminine characters entering the grotesque, entering the world of the grotesque and the abject, is a way to escape patriarchal view. It provides the ability to truly be free, essentially, because once the feminine is grotesque, they are no longer under the watchful eye of the men in their lives in the context of these Gothic novels. I get the sense that early Erica, before she is turned, has a lot of expectations and standards that she holds herself to that she would want to achieve but can't. In these early stages of her being a vampire, she basically has no rules for herself, no restraint, one could even say. And that in itself, in a certain frame view, can be seen as the feminine grotesque. Things that come with that, like, you know, not being an egotistic maniac and being a bad friend. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Erica being a bad friend, okay? Don't worry, guys. I'm in no way attempting to defend Erica's behavior of being a bad friend, but I think it's an element of her character that makes sense, and is one I'm just going to try and explain and justify, but not endorse, okay? I want to make that very clear. I can see, for Erica specifically, the only way for her to be free is to throw away any sort of fear of transgression and basically do whatever the hell she wants. It's a very hedonist lifestyle in a similar way that I described for Rory in a sense. I can't remember if I cut that out or not. I'm trying to get these videos to be like within the 25 to 45 minute range. 30 minutes is like the golden spot, and sometimes I ramble a bit too much, so I cut out rants. So I might have cut out my rant about hedonism. It's a worthy philosophical question. Shouldn't we only try to seek out pleasure and never seek out pain? The problem with a hedonistic lifestyle, from my perspective at least, is that when you only seek out pleasure and pain inevitably does come your way because we live in a society, it causes a very adverse, negative reaction towards displeasure. We should be, bracing ourselves for said displeasure because it is very likely to actually happen. And yeah, we do get that with Erica. She does seem to be very mild-tempered. Is that the right word? She has no temper, is what I'm trying to say. She gets very mad with the snap, with the switch. She is upset. It's one thing I will criticize the show for doing. They basically, it seems like for certain plot lines, don't really know what to do with Erica, or only have a simplistic viewing and understanding of her character. So whenever they want to have her interact with the villain, they pick one of two modes, which is be jealous if the villain is a girl, or want to date the villain if the villain is a guy. I said to make it interesting, they should have at least swapped it for one episode, but maybe that's the case for Serena. We haven't really analyzed their relationship that much, have we? And it is very true that Erica's direct repulsion for polite society is what makes her relationship clash with Sarah specifically. From an ideological standpoint, they're on the polar opposite spectrums of what the vampire existence should be. Sarah is a lot more to like the Carlisle side of things, where she's like, we should just pretend to be human. We should, ingrain ourselves in human society and act as human as possible. Drink animal blood, never even think about consuming human blood, and feel normal. That's a pretty common word for Sarah. She says normal quite a lot in the first season.
I'm just trying to do something so I can feel, normal.
You don't fit in with humans anymore, Sarah. Why keep fighting it?
Versus Erica, who loves being a vampire and sees vampirism as the thing that basically saved her life and made it meaningful, has no interest in human society and the silly little games that they play. To a certain degree. Because she says that, oh, you're not human anymore, you don't fit in with humans. Yet she's still going to high school, and she still cares about things like looking good in her yearbook picture, even though she literally won't even be able to take a picture because she won't show up on camera. And being in the school play. She really wants to be in the school play. She famously has a bucket list, which Sarah makes fun of her for because she'll never kick the bucket. So not only from an ideological standpoint do Sarah and Erica clash, which is why Erica ends up being like a bad friend, because to a degree, she feels as though she doesn't have to budge from her point, and Sarah is the one who has to move, which, like, yes, that is true, but it is also, it's not supportive. It's not helping Sarah out. It's not helping her, actually reach that point. I think we can all agree on that. Basically, what was supposed to happen for Sarah, which is accept being a vampire and become a full vampire, was done to her in the most traumatic way possible, which is everyone makes fun of her for it, and then she's forced to against her will to save the life of another human. That's traumatic as shit. You'd think it would be, a little bit easier for her, or that her friends would want to make it the transition a little bit better, and after she's turned, Erica's all lovey-dovey, but, before, there's a clash, and part of me really thinks, Erica, you should be nicer to your friend. You should be a little bit less harsh. I mean, you're speaking truth, but it's not what she wants to hear right now. It's not helping. And again, I think this comes from embracing the female grotesque, embracing the feminine Gothic, and truly being able to exist within her own understanding, and not understanding when your best friend isn't doing much of the same. It can cause you to be transgressive. So transgressive that you inspire a whole series of stories. Specifically, like Carmilla. So Carmilla, to me, is an obvious example of, like, the Gothic feminine in that sense. For those of you who haven't read it, I should have done this for when I talked about Interview with the Vampire. I just assumed everyone knew the basic bones of the story. But Carmilla is older, way older, and also a little bit more obscure, so I'll kind of, walk through the light details. Carmilla is a queer-coded vampire who slowly ends up draining the life force of the main character of the story, Laura, starting at least from when the character was 6, and I think is around 16, or just in their late teens by the start of the story. And Carmilla does not have a good ending. Spoiler alert for this literally ancient novel, but she ends up getting brutally killed. Specifically, Carmilla describes being angry and vicious towards human society because she feels as though she's been robbed of a human identity by being turned into a vampire against her will. At least that's what I interpreted from reading it. It's also been a while since I read Carmilla, if I'm being completely honest with you, so I'm fully willing, to admit that my interpretation is wrong. Carmilla has very big Ebony Darkness, Dementia Raven Way energy is what I'm saying. Like, she's literally at a funeral, a Catholic funeral, and she's like, ugh, disgusting. Obviously, because I think, like crosses actually do make her skin boil or something like that. But, yeah, she's just very, very rude and transgressive at it, and everyone's like, oh, why are you so, anti-religion? That's freaky. She was just a goth icon, what can I say? And it also, there's an inherently predatory angle that is a bit offensive in the modern day, which I am fully aware of. Let me just read from my notes directly. Let me quote myself here real quick, because if me trying to paraphrase it, I'm just going to sound unintelligent. Carmilla obviously isn't heroic and isn't necessarily acting properly by essentially almost killing Laura, but that doesn't change the fact that she cannot and doesn't want to fit into society because of the way she had been rejected by society already, and is upset that she can't participate in it properly like she wants to. There's a large air of jealousy present in her character through the way she preys on Laura and drinks her blood, as she lusts to both be with her and be her at the same time. The optics aren't good, okay? I know this promotes a lot of negative stereotypes of lesbian-coded characters being domineering and corrupting figures to innocent young women, quote-unquote. That's just the interpretation that I see present in the novel. So, at the end of the day, I think the character of Carmilla is a vampire who really seeks human connection and is very lonely, and only knows how to find such companionship in hunting their prey, essentially. And that transgressiveness is the only way she knows how to be. And to a certain degree, I see this with Erica. I would say it's the reason why she still is in high school and hangs out with the rest of the characters, because there is a sense of community and friendship that she really wants at the end of the day. And I wouldn't necessarily call her lonely in that sense, because she is a new vampire and does enjoy being a vampire. This is another kind of fold that we don't see as often, in the same way with Rory. Most of the time, vengeful, bloodlust vampires also don't like being vampires. It's a very, depressing existence, but this show liked to be a little bit more lighthearted when it came to 2 of the 3 vampire characters. And I see a little bit of this in Erica. I would argue that when she was still a human, she felt rejected by human society because she didn't fit the conventional standards of beauty. She was too obsessed with dusk. She cared too much. She was annoying, one could even say, probably. I hate that people are made fun of just for being annoying. Like, just deal with it. Let people be a little bit annoying. It's not a crime. I know I said this in my Rory video, and I'm saying it again. Some people just hate teenage girls, and they just hate women in general, and so they can't stand the fact that women are happy, I guess. And that's if I'm interpreting that, like, the Twihard hate in our real world existed in the mbav universe, but with dusk, right? That Erica was seen as super lame and hated on because of her deep obsession with dusk. Like, God forbid a girl be passionate. So she must embrace the grotesque to truly be free, and I think there is a beauty in that at the end of the day. It is nice to see just how chill she is throughout the series. She is a really fun time, specifically in season 2, where they make her really funny and they have her, like, cracking jokes all the time. I think that's a really good space for her. She could be like the female counterpart to Benny in a lot of ways. And here I go on my Benica shit again. Listen, I'm one of the only people in this world who cares about Benny and Erica possibly being together, because I pick up on the teeniest little crumbs of it existing within the show, and nobody gives a fuck, okay? Everyone's Serica and Bethan, which I agree there literally is more proof of in the show than there is the actual straight ship of Benica, but let me have my shit, okay? We actually talk about Benica in depth on the podcast. Check out the Vampy Wampy Campy podcast. We are going to do a full deep dive into the ships, as well as rank every My Babysitter's a Vampire episode, as well as review the Halloween episode of Gravity Falls, because we're currently trying to review every episode of that show. We already previously reviewed every episode of My Babysitter's a Vampire. So yeah, go check that out. Me and Sal are basically the 2 resident Benica shippers that still exist in this universe. So we talk our shit in that episode. So I won't get into it too much here, but specifically season 2, episode 2, Say You'll Be Maztec, the episode where, like, all the boys are charmed by Lucia and are, like, being her minions. Sarah and Erica have to do the job of Ethan and Benny, and they basically fill that exact role where, like, Sarah is the serious one and Erica is the aloof one who doesn't care and is just cracking jokes the whole time. And I think that's a dynamic that works for those 2 characters, and I think specifically for Erica is something I would have liked to see her do throughout the rest of the series if it wasn't canceled. Because in early season 1, she actually isn't in 2 episodes, and I think that's specifically because there basically was no reason for her to be there. The problem with having a character who is aloof and doesn't really care that much is that they start not being involved in the plot, which means you just don't get them around as much. At least with Benny, it's like he is literally surgically attached to Ethan by the hip. Like, they are so close together and, like, intertwined that, like, it would not make sense if Benny wasn't with Ethan. So he's just, like, problem solving, quote unquote, just being there, doing nothing, not contributing, that's for sure, because he would be hanging out with Ethan anyways, right? But with Erica, she really starts to, like, distance herself a little bit from Sarah and from the rest of the gang, because she's not friends with them. It's one of those things where it's like Sarah has become friends with Ethan, so, like, Benny and Erica kind of hang out, but they're not really friends, and Erica isn't interested in being friends with Ethan or Benny or Rory, so she just kind of, like, awkwardly exists on the fringe of this friend group. And it's in season 2 when they all actually start to seem like friends with each other. And I think a large part of that comes with the development of Erica as a more community-driven person. You can definitely see with the Vampire Council actually establishing itself in season 2, because it crumbled in front of everyone's eyes once Jesse was vanquished. Once it is reestablished and Anastasia becomes the new member, the lead member of the Vampire Council, you can see that Erica really does value community. She likes the Vampire Council. It's something that she really, like, connects herself with. They host parties and they do events, and she wants to be the Vampire Council party planner specifically.
I want to run for Vampire Council party planner, but I need 2 other vamps to sign for me. in their blood. Speaking of which...
Ow! Wait.
And we see that also in how her relationship changes with characters like Ethan. They actually, like, talk to each other and have a fun rapport with each other in season 2. It's great. One of my favorite character dynamics, that and Rory with anyone. And I think this is proof that they were trying to evolve the character past what I've been describing as the Gothic feminine, because famously, the Gothic feminine does not have a happy ending. These characters usually die tragically or just live horrible lives. Again, with Carmilla, she is brutally slain. If you guys have ever read the play Aura by Joanna Bailey, that character is literally scared to death, like genuinely scared to madness. She goes mad by the end of the story. And the sort of framing of with these characters is that they're at least set free. They're no longer held back by their horrible situations that they've been put in from a patriarchal and misogynistic society. But that doesn't mean that they're happy. And with the character of Erica, I could tell that they wanted her to be a lighthearted, fun character. So she needs to essentially reach a place of content. This active conflict of her being a horrible friend and rejecting society and community can't continue on if we're going to have a cute little Fang Gang Monster of the Week mystery to solve every day. Proof of this is Evil Car, which is the real name of the episode, actually, by the way. They changed it to Fanged and Furious, which is horrible. They should have just kept it as Evil Car. It's so bland and uninteresting, and I love it. That's one of the first, like, real and true, like, ensemble episodes where all 5 of them are working together to defeat the vampire ghost car. And I would never see Erica doing that in season 1. I think about season 1 episode 9? Dipod? 6? I can't remember broadcast order versus production order. They're different. But in the season 1 episode Dipod, she has the chance to get involved in the plot, and then she fucks off.
Erica, run! Save yourself! Okay. No, wait!
That episode would have been so much more fun if she was there, is all I'm saying. It would have been fun if she was there. But I guess the writers didn't really know how to fold her character into the trio dynamic as much. They kind of knew how Ethan, Benny, and Sarah were, but they didn't know how, like, the whole gang would be. So it makes sense why they did that, and it just makes you sad to see all the wasted potential with the show getting canceled, because they would have been such a cool friend group. Now that Erica actually wants to be in community and have friends. Proof that community does equal sacrifice, like I said in my previous Rory video, because Erica has to deal with people like Rory and people like Benny, who she finds annoying, but that means that she's within a community and she is contributing to society in a way that fulfills her. In the finale, she doesn't want to just run away. She wants to stay and help the fight. Sure, she specifically says for Sarah, but her and Rory immediately decide that they are going to stay and fight, and it's Anastasia who glamours them and forces them to stay, so they're not with the main trio when everything happens. Again, the finale is its own beast. Maybe one day I'll make a video just talking about the finale, because it's very fascinating. It's just that the way they chose to do certain things, to separate Erica and Rory, and I understand they were trying to do the whole, like, love and friendship thing with Beef Era, but still, it's interesting how they did it like that, how they separated them. They specifically chose to separate them. So there we go. There's the Erica video. This might be my shortest video of the entire month, just because at the end of the day, like I've said previously, Erica isn't, like, the most developed character out of everyone. And any problematic behavior that she does is not on the level to where I find it concerning enough to talk about it for 45 minutes, like with Benny. In the same way, they're basically foils of each other, you could say. I'm getting on my Benica shit again, sorry. Because you could see that Benny also has a huge insecurity with himself and wanting to prove himself as, worthy of love and acceptance, and that manifests in very negative ways that I talked about in that video, but it's still something you can understand and relate to. Like, you specifically see that his humor is a coping mechanism and is a way of, like, hiding a lot of that fear that he has, as well as his magical powers. I think famously the cyberdontist thing in Independence Days, they're all given what their biggest fear is. Ethan's is being alone, but it then becomes stern McFire hands. For Sarah, it's being a bloodlust crazy vampire killer. She values human society so highly, and she does not want to ever kill a human being. So her biggest fear is the version of herself that could be that way. And Benny's is cyberdontist. Just like a scary movie he watched once when he was 4 or whatever. But to me, it's clearly the fear of not having magic and not being able to protect himself, because we see him try to use magic on the cyberdontist, the robotic dentist, and it's specifically stated that dentists are immune to magic. So to me, like, that's actually what his fear is the inability to use magic, because it's become such a crutch for him in his everyday life now. And Erica and her vampirism is very much of the same. This is an Erica video. I don't know why I went on a Benny rant for a good chunk of time there. Oh, it's because the two characters on the surface level don't have a lot of character development that's obvious, you know, right in front of your face, like with characters like Sarah and Ethan. Which is why I've saved their videos for the last, because they're going to be the hardest ones for me to do, and I'm just delaying the inevitable, if I'm being completely honest. And I think Erica as a character, to relieve herself of this fear and insecurity and uncomfortableness with herself that she has, she uses her vampirism as that shield. And it's when she gains her confidence, she's actually able to fully reintegrate herself back into the world. And so that's why her humor is a lot different from Benny's. Benny's is a coping mechanism, so he doesn't have to face his actual feelings. And for Erica, it's because she's finally confident enough to be her true authentic self. Okay, I'm gonna add a little extended part to this conclusion where I get a little bit further into maybe some, problematic elements of Erica's character possibly being recreatable, because that was my biggest problem with Benny and his behavior. It's not the problem that he's doing it, it's the problem that it's extremely easy to replicate and see as normal and fine, and in a kid's show, that can cause people to develop very interesting traits, which we probably don't want reflected in our society anymore, so we should not really be, learning from media that still has those elements, right? With Erica and her being a bad friend, specific examples like her ditching Sarah to see a guy when they're supposed to be hanging out together is wrong, and I think is a thing that she puts her own self-actualization over her community, which was kind of what the point of me saying that, like, by season 2, she's realized that community is important to her, at least through her actions. It's not outright said or anything. As I've said before, so much of this analysis is me just hitting the crack pipe, and it feels like I'm making stuff up, but there is textual evidence, I swear. And I guess in the comments below, you guys can let me know if you think it is something that a lot of girls saw and wanted to be like Erica, so they decided to be aloof and ditch their friends at the movies for a boy or something like that. You can let me know if these two things are on a similar playing field as, like, catcalling your local classmates. Like I keep saying, and people keep misconstruing me, probably because they're not really watching the video, or they're busy playing Subway Surfers while it's on in the background, but there's nothing wrong with having these elements present within a show. I don't like calling stuff out as being problematic just because it doesn't align with my worldview. How woke a TV show is has nothing to do with my own personal beliefs and parameters, but I want us to just be aware of the subtle things that could be present within our TV shows and use our discernment so that we can, understand what we really are learning from our world and our pop culture and stuff, because a lot of it can be very subliminal in ways that we don't understand. On to the rest of the conclusion. I love it when characters reach actualization on screen. It's so fun. And it also, if the show were to have continued, it would have proved that, characters can conclude a story arc basically and still be fun to watch on screen. So many, like supernatural, paranormal shows that have these like really intense plots or whatever feel the need to basically traumatize their characters over and over again and just put them through the most horrible shit imaginable because they wouldn't be interesting to watch if they weren't constantly going through some shit. And I say that's wrong. Let's have joy in our TV shows, please. I mean, obviously not like all the time. Like I need some struggle, okay? I do appreciate when the characters go through some shit, okay? I want to see my favorite character almost bleed out on the concrete every other episode. Don't get that twisted. But also I think denying characters conclusions to their arcs because they just need another couch gag is annoying, and it's not a fun thing to watch. And Erica is probably the most fun character to watch in season 2, in my opinion. If only she was in it more. So there's my video on Erica. There's probably more I could say about her, honestly, but this feels like a good conclusion, so I'm gonna stop. And also because I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I've been editing all day. I had delays with the Rory video, so that means I'm probably gonna have delays for the Erica video, which means the podcast episodes have been delayed, and I need to go eat some tacos and rest. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has actually been so fun for me, even though it's been a little bit stressful. I've been having just the time of my life. I can't believe it's my job to talk about mbav in front of a camera. Like, holy shit. Check out the merch. It'll be linked below. I think I've finally linked my shop now, my store, to my account. So, like, the products, you could, like, I don't know if you can actually buy them in the YouTube app, but, like, you can click on them instead of having to, like, you know, look it up or whatever. Check out my Tumblr. I recently opened up Asks again, my inbox on my Tumblr. I had it closed because I got some really weird messages. Famously, the one Atticus Mitchell defender who would literally harass me in my inbox every single day and gave me nightmares, caused me to close my inbox. But it's open again. And so I've been getting just some of the nicest, coolest, like, mbav asks recently. So feel free, if you still have a Tumblr account, I know most people don't anymore, but if you have one, feel free to send me an ask in my inbox and I'll answer it. I'm usually not the fastest at responses because I'm not, like, on Tumblr all that often, like 24/7, but yeah, go check me out on there, I guess. But it's pretty much my only social media, so yes. Also check out the Vampy Wampy Campy podcast on Tumblr. I don't post on it as much just because I continuously forget the login for the account, and for some reason I didn't just make a side blog on my personal account, which pisses me off, but we do have updates on there for episodes, usually. Even if you don't have a Tumblr, I think you can pull up the website, vampywampycampypodcast.tumblr.com, on your, like, desktop, so I'll link it in the description as well. Check us out on Spotify, too. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching. Bye!
What?